I don't know.
And he didn't listen to any of the interviews in this case, correct?
I don't know.
Including the interviews of Calissa Kelly or Ivy Van or Ebony Wiley, correct?
I don't know.
And he certainly didn't listen to 1 second, much less 1 minute, of the audio videotaped interview that went on for almost 2 hours of this defendant, correct?
I don't know.
You said that this defendant, and you said you know that he is diagnosed with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, is that right?
That was my understanding based on my review of Dr. Eisenstein's report.
Okay. And are you aware of the fact that Dr. Eisenstein has now told this jury that that diagnosis came from this defendant's mouth?
No.
Okay. So would it surprise you to know that that diagnosis or any report of that diagnosis is simply based on the self-reporting of this defendant?
That may be.
All right. And there are absolutely no medical records or psychological records in the history of this defendant indicating that he's ever been diagnosed with PTSD?
That could be.
All right. Are you aware of the fact that yesterday, during a 3.5-hour psychiatric evaluation conducted by state expert Dr. Emily Lazaro, that the defendant told her, I don't have PTSD?
I'm not aware of what he's told her.
Zoloft, you said the defendant is taking Zoloft now in the jail for depression, correct?
Yes, it's an antidepressant, and it can be used to treat depression, and he has depressed mood.
Right. And that's not an uncommon diagnosis of people who are incarcerated, correct?
I would not be surprised, yes.
All right. So yesterday in your deposition, you gave me your opinions, and then this morning, you made a decision that you needed to speak with the defendant back in the holding cell back here for about 5 minutes, correct?
That's correct.
And that's when you asked him the questions that you told us about today about the list of symptoms. I believe you called it an epilepsy measure, is that correct?
Epilepsy spectrum.
Spectrum.
Yes.
Okay. So you read to him the possible symptoms, one of which was deja vu, one of which was having the sensation of ants or insects under your skin?
That's correct.
So when you read through the list, he selected those, correct, and said, yeah, I have those, right?
Yes.
And it wouldn't surprise you if almost everybody in this room at some point has had deja vu, correct?
No, deja vu is not an uncommon sensation, but the sensation of insects flying under your skin is not that common.
So then, because you were just now, right before you testified, speaking with the defendant, the state was allowed, the prosecutor in this case was allowed to speak with you, correct?
That's correct.
About what you asked him about.
Yes, that's correct.
And while I was speaking to you about that, I asked for Dr. Lazaro to come up and listen to what you were telling me, correct?
Yes.
All right. And Dr. Lazaro asked you during that, did he differentiate between having those symptoms when he was on drugs and when he wasn't on drugs?
That's right.
And that's why you went back and asked him about that, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So Dr. Lazaro had to point that out to you before you asked him that, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And
he said he didn't have it. He said he had it even when he wasn't on drugs.
he had it only when he was on drugs?
No, he said he had it even when he wasn't on drugs.
Okay. And as far as the beatings that you say he took at the hands of his father, even this defendant couldn't tell you that he ever got hit in the head. He indicated that he may have been hit in the head.
He wasn't sure. That's correct. He said it may have happened.
And this defendant certainly, at least as far as you know, has never played in the NFL, correct?
That's correct.
May I have one moment, Ron?
Yes.
You had a slide, you may remember I asked you about it. I think it's slide number 63.
Yes, you asked me about slide 63. That's correct.
Okay, and on that slide you had indicated that the slip and fall thing that the defendant had related to Dr. Eisenstein, is that correct?
I'm not sure if that came from Dr. Eisenstein or that came from one of the attorneys or the attorney's mitigator.
I don't have your PowerPoint. Do you know if it's still in the computer?
I believe it's in my computer, my laptop, the Surface Pro.
All right, well, let me see if I can use this slide. All right, so this is a slide from the PowerPoint we got from the defense within the last couple of days. The same slide, 63.
That's correct.
Is there anything in that slide about him slipping and falling on concrete?
No, I added that this morning.
You added it this morning?
Yeah, when I spoke to the attorney and the mitigator.
Okay, so the attorney recommended to you to put that in your slide?
I decided to put it in since I just got the information this morning.
Okay. Are you aware of the fact that Dr. Eisenstein, who spoke with the defendant about slipping and falling when he was around 10 years old, didn't know what the surface he fell on was?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Are you aware of the fact that Dr. Eisenstein told this jury that the defendant told him he couldn't tell him what the surface was that he fell on?
I don't know what Dr. Eisenstein testified about yesterday.
So do you know how the concrete came about, where that came from?
Well, I just assumed it was concrete. That may have been a mistaken assumption on my part.
Okay, so you assumed it was one of the hardest surfaces that we walk on, concrete.
Well, I was told that he had lost consciousness.
So you were told he lost consciousness?
Yeah, when in my discussion with the attorney and the mitigator.
All right, so are you aware of the fact Dr. Eisenstein told us yesterday that he wasn't aware of whether the defendant lost consciousness, according to the defendant?
I don't know.
Or whether he had a concussion?
I don't know what Dr. Eisenstein
In
talked
fact,
about.
Dr. Eisenstein told us he didn't lose consciousness and he didn't have a concussion from that slip and fall. Are you aware of that?
No.
Yeah, nothing else, Your Honor.
Okay, redirect.
Doctor, whether or not Mr. Ritchie lost consciousness in this fall, does that in any way impact your opinion regarding his brain abnormalities?
Well, no, because he's had at least three he has at least three motor vehicle accidents. I think 2009 and a couple other ones. One's in Texas, one in Brandon, and one in another Florida city. And then he's had the physical beatings. So I think whether he lost consciousness at age 10 is not or not. It's not going to affect my opinion. It's just
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
No, yeah, it won't affect my opinion whether
Does
that fact's left out.
Way, whether or not he lost consciousness back in that fall, whether or not he did or not, does it affect in any way the images, the test results that you have regarding the PET scan and the MRIs?
No, it does not.
Okay, very good. May this witness be excused, or do you want him to
Yes,
remain? All right, thank you, doctor. You're free to go.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, defense. Who's going to be your? What's going to be your
Yeah,
next?
thank you.
Okay, very good.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes. And this is going to be defense exhibit
One.
1. Okay, very good. And it will be
Penalty phase 1.
penalty phase 1. It will be admitted with the same ruling from the court regarding any previous objections, and it will now be published to the jury.
Honestly, he's a wonderful person, very jovial, very nice, very kind. I must say that one time I was working at Granville, they have this beautiful Nike shoes, and I went in one day and said, I want to wear a fight, and just give it to me, just like that, based on the relationship that me and Granville have together. He was a role model, fun enough, because one of the things that we used to analyze me, and used to do the same as well. We were that two person trying to walk that, that perfect walk. Just the next one can follow.
When you come to Jamaica, you always come and visit me, Auntie Andrea. If I'm looking for $1,000 or $500, I'm always add it to me.
During competition, they would donate, when he works, he would donate his money to buy toys and things for the kids. Like back to school, they would donate back to school.
Like books, pencil, sham, all those things to go back to school and those things. So really push out the rights and floor everything and assist them. assist.
The old people, they would Christmas time, they cook, give them packages and all those things.
At that time, I age about 5 to 6 years old. I was when I meet Granville.
Basically, I grew up with China. I mean, my father teach how to play music. And him was like the first selector, and then after him, I really teach. Him really teach me to play and understand knowledge and read crowd and everything. So, I would say, as I said, I'm Sean Turkey.
Yeah.
We represent for the whole Kingston Turkey. And we don't know China, they would be know me. He basically teach me and tell me, say, yo, you need to manage music that way and do this that way. Why even never you tell me something you could get? Ever tell me what you do to improve yourself all the life. So that's one of the biggest motivator.
Supporter and he's also a giver as well. Because if he's coming in from work and you see the kids are in the body. For me personally, I remember at one time Stephanie assisted me at one time. I remember he's much older than I. He was working, I was working. So I look up to him as a role model. I mean, just want to, be industrial like that person and that work ethic that I see him put out. Because he's not a lazy person.
I know that when you are like I know that he's a very kind person. I think one time, when he was playing, he carried boots, football boots for a young man. And I think I learned to keep it because I always have those type of shows that we can play. So we have more than one football show.
Yeah, one time was he gave me cash. I remember it's $1,000 Jamaican dollars, which I appreciate it, I do. Because back here, it is like pretty rough here. So, when somebody assisted when he was something, it's like, it is so much of a great attendance. I mean, you feel appreciated because, it takes someone with guts and real art to go out there and make a difference. And trust me, I appreciate what he give for me.
Imagine I come bring a one shirt or one, you can't bring a big load of things for everybody. Maybe a shirt or, a little shorts, from a bit of socks. The simple thing that I
would love to come and interview out there and things. So, that's always walking around. We always like that. We always fear that, So I went out there on my day off. And I did the interview and I got through the same time. So I just sent my resignation after and then start work out there. So and he go on to run to tell other persons about it and stuff like that. So he was that person always want to see other person lifting themselves up. If we're at a level at 70%, we always try to motivate them. Like 100 or 120. So he's that type of person who always destined for greatness and pushing our person for greater things.
Yeah, I'm a stepmother, I love you. You tell me that face to face. I tell him I love him too. I love him, yeah. Because he's nice.
His family, they were very strict with him growing up and going to school.
Father was a person who loved women, different baby mothers, and all of that.
Alright, I met Trevor through the political arena. He was politically active, and so was I, for the same party, the same constituency, and the same member of parliament we work for. So we're part of that political team from a particular constituency. I met him like 24 years ago. I've known him that long. I've only known Gloria for like about 18 years. I met him first. You have always had eyes for me, but I've always heard about him and many baby mothers, so I actually showed no interest. The relationship actually started about 9 years after I know him.
Yes, you have two baby mothers away from Gloria.
He's wild. That's a normal term that we use to describe our men in Jamaica when they have more than one woman. They're wild, He's wild. He had a lot of kids. Because at one point I heard it was 12 and counting.
And the two baby mothers, one have 5 kids and one have 4 kids for him.
before he passed, a woman, she came here and said that she had a daughter for him and the daughter wants to know him and he give her information and give him a picture and give her a WhatsApp number for him and the child to communicate, but time cut short and he passed away.
Told me a couple of times when he got physical, very physical, you know, he turned. I think Jennifer and Gloria got the most of it because he was actually living with them.
You know, Granville always have a problem about that. I'm always looking with my mother, Granville always, I tell him to do. So I'm always have a little ups and downs with that.
Gloria has to work because he make sure that she go and work. And she'll have to go work. But she was always a working person. She was always try to be an independent woman. And as soon as she left the house for work and bringing Jennifer at the same home, and I understand that there was a incident where Laura came home and saw him at the house with Jennifer. Arguments started between the two ladies.
Mother come from work and she was a hard-working person. And she always have to out to work for her children. And she come home and she catch him and fight start. Sometimes she end up with the black and blue eye. If she can't go to work, she has to wear shades to cover her scars. Sometimes she cries, sometimes. I don't even know if sometimes she smiles because with the eye like that, most tears because sometimes my ear like that, sometimes my ear and she close and no she fed up. But she love our children and she always live here with me. And sometimes, you know, him have other women, him have other children, so him have sleep here, so he don't come in tonight, he don't come in tomorrow, he don't come in the next day and him share himself.
Yes, and it was a norm for him. He saw nothing wrong with it. It made him this macho guy that other men would want to do like him.
I don't know about the Gloria, but one time I know that he heard that she was talking to a guy and he hit her in her face.
Because in out the road, cursing with some different other people, the person, like him and a man, of course. The man girlfriend get involved. My mother never get involved. So when I'm done, because I'm coming here, I just start beat her in her head. And start beat her up. Granville Ritchie tried to save her in Lake Granville town. Her mother got cut to the head. Think she had get stitches. She ended up in hospital. And I think that about 3 to 4 days she's sleeping in Granville house.
Whether it be a box or a comb or a drape, whatever. They actually feared him. The kids feared him.
The second time I see liquor in the slam door in my face, lock her up in the house, told him lock up in the house, so I don't know what's going on in the house. Yeah, I hear what's going on, but when I saw my mother ear swell. Every time my mother ear always swell, black and blue. The witness beat Jennifer. Jennifer coming from work today. That man always beat her for coming from work late. Session of a boyfriend. Yeah, the woman always work, but him just want the woman and come in for a special time, like she don't work 5, he want her reach her test at 6. Yeah, so them reach 8 or 9, then go look for someone.
He felt superior to the other woman, but he felt inferior in my presence. And that was just very uncomfortable for him. I was able to teach him stuff. He really didn't like that either. He didn't like to be corrected. It started with some phone calls. I'll be in his presence and he will get a particular call about one of the kids. And the tone, the things that he said on the phone, we behaved to the person on the phone. I was like, huh? The way he speaks to his kids. With expletives.
Because my daughter said, put it, fix it. You know? He might right yes and just look and target and just cuss for that.
Yeah. And you could hear them getting verbally abused titles. Let me tell you more, these are powerful. Loud. You hear bad, and then you hear people are cry out, ball out, and sometimes they just open the gate and run out. But them can't take it no more and then get when they just run out.
All of them feel the wrath of his hands. They all do. He was very abusive and I mean, he could be very heartless. Heartless in the sense that he will just hit the child, and even if you see a little blood running, you know, you say, this looks serious. It never deterred him. If you mean to give it too much strike, you're going to get it.
He beat them. He beat them, but he beat them bad. He beat them. He beat them, man. He really beat them. And he went verbally, physically. He beat them.
And they use them when they take their when they tire the top, and start doing this to top. But this car for
Yes, I have witnessed on 2 occasions. And actually that it was a good thing that I was there, because at one point I told him that I would call the police, make him know I was actually called to the scene. And this is when I got there now, the child was bleeding, and he was landing the last 2 blow, and when he saw me, I said, you need to stop. And if you don't stop, I will call the police. Some went to the upper body. I don't remember if it's the head or the ears, but it's some part of the face. So I was actually beating the child because I didn't think the child was stupid.
Coming from school late, my shirt out tight pants, and coming from school, my lace pump. You get beaten for them stuff that, yes, I'm coming dirty, is it? Come in and don't get homework to do, I get beaten. I have to make ensure that I get homework every single day. I have teacher now give the class homework, make sure that I get homework.
If he said something and they didn't hear and they asked him twice, they're not listening, they'll be punished for that. If they go to the shop and buy the wrong thing, they'll be punished for that. If you say you have homework and they said no, if you think they should.
When sending on kind of stay bored by himself or real bored, you can't move from this.
It was his daughter coming home late. She got home late from school one evening. And I was actually in the area doing some political work. And the little girl passed me not very long ago. And then I heard somebody say, blow a killing pitney them over. And when I went there, the little girl run out of the yard, run past me in the lane. We came after her, and when he grabbed onto her, I held his hand. And I said, let her go.
See, me and my sister, wicked, you know. But them they get beaten like how we get beaten.
I'm going to be honest, it is kind of embarrassing to say this, and I don't know if it would cause more damage than good, but what led me to the breakup is when I learned that the dad actually molested one of his daughters. His eldest daughter came by my home with her daughter to spend a week. And she told me the story of her father molesting her at age, I think she said 12 then. And I was like frozen. I was like, I know he's abusive, I know he's that, I know he's that, but I didn't know he's that. You know? Actually, no. And I said, how did it happen? And the way she outlined the story of the first event, no lie. It started one day, Daddy sent Mommy to buy something at the shop, something that was already in the house, and like I think it was a beer or something, and like the Mommy said, what beer in the house? And he said, no, I don't want no hot beer. I want it cold on the fridge, so go and buy a cold one. And the Mommy left for the shop, and then he started to think like fun with her. And started his fingers, you know, up there, you know, and it didn't happen once, and she even told me about certain comments, you know, that he would make, you know, about her private part, you know, when she's dressed a certain way, and so like the way you think, buff up or fat up or, you know, it's tasteful. I don't know why this guy just came out right and said, your daughter told me what you did to her. How could you do that? You know? I was very judgmental. To be honest, I showed no form of sympathy. I was very judgmental and I got very defensive. And he started to cry and said, at one point he said he was drunk, and then the next point he said, he never believes a female daughter. So he's actually saying he never believed that the daughter was his rightful child. So he absolutely did not say it didn't happen. Alright, his daughter, that same daughter, I've told me of incidents where she takes home her school friend. And you know, girls going to school, your friend follow you home, and you will actually make an advance. It was real, it was cruel, and it was heartless. Those are the two words I could use to describe his treatment towards it. I often leave my liver and have to bring and call that son and say, meet me, and offer him stuff to eat. He'll be there days, and they don't offer him anything to eat. People from outside have to come and offer him something to eat.
Just get only money for nothing to the game. You know, I'm always I get beaten because I'm always doing girl here. So I'm always getting beaten. Yeah, my father always beat them in front of the class to embarrass them. Yeah, I always have that style of my father. I always get it. Come, kid. See?
But one time I heard that Granville came from school in the night, 6 o'clock. And he beat him, and then he found out that he was at a football match. But Granville didn't tell him that he was at a match. So he get very upset and said, and I said, then he couldn't let the coach call me and tell me that he was at a football match, soccer match.
Indeed, Granville left me. One if I beat him, Granville getting it. Granville get one if I beat him more than me.
While he was here, yes, he have shared one or two stuff with me. He shared with me when he used to go to KC and like something like if he play a match and he got an opportunity for goal, I think it's football, track and field. No, he was the one that used to play the football. And he said something like, if you should get an opportunity to score a goal and didn't, it was a problem. Father beat him. I said, you can go out and score a goal. Things like those, and if you catch them talking, like if you don't have to a particular family, and you catch another kids them talking to anybody from that family, they will get a meeting for that, you know. There was a particular time when the sister, that is Trevor Sr., that is Granville's father, and his Granville father's sister was Granville's aunt, had an argument. And he told Granville to go and remove the sister's electricity connection. And Granville refused. And when he realized that the sister still had electricity, he called him and said, I didn't tell you to go and remove it. And Granville said, yes. So he said, go and remove it, and Granville left. But he didn't. And when the father found out that the sister still had electricity, he gave him a fine beating. None of his baby mother can talk to her. They can only talk to that sister when him and that sister are in a good relationship. If there's an incident that causes them not to speak, they cannot speak to her either. And none of the kids can speak to her either. He was like that. If you did something, I don't agree, you become the same.
Granville grew up rough, you know. Like, meaning, he make a bowl of porridge and tell her to drink it, and you don't drink it, and beat her to drink the porridge. Granville get beaten by wire and board, and when me growing up, I get beaten by board and bell.
He has never fight his father nor cuss with his father. Even when his father verbally abused him and all of that. Alright, maybe it would have been the referee then, because him not fight him father and him not fight him mother. But it would have been the referee. Yeah. So it affects him, because sometimes it would have come out and him sit down and put him on, you know, like this. And you know, him just take a break from all of it.
Because his family back here is in a poor background, I would have to say, and he know where he's coming from. He know the struggles in life that he went through.
I know there was poverty. I know that. That's obvious. Where they used to live, and it is quite obvious that there was poverty.
So you understand now when he go back to the US now and he make his money, he's always, even when he comes to visit the community, like when he's overseas and he come back to visit, he's always like, I'm gonna do this, I'm going to help this, he's always thinking of something to do to try to help someone else.
Because out of all the kids that his mom had, he was the one that was more outstanding in the family in terms of quiet, his personality, have a bond relationship with them.
Very hardworking lady, his mom. His dad, he's there as well, but the mom put up more work ethic. And I think it's that where getting work ethic from, his mom. And she was, such a, dedicated lady.
Beast and Maya, knowledgeable, loving mother, and a loving father, and loving relative, loving parents. I've never seen him one time disrespecting parents. Never. His mother was this type of person who loved him and Richie loved her right back.
He's normally helping them in whatever way he can. Especially his mom. He's a person that normally take care of her and, support. He's supportive. Towards his brothers and sisters as well. And to other persons who might be in need of things, he's quick to help. As in monetary-wise, yes. He'll buy stuff, he'll maintain them, giving them money and...
Well, he always called me auntie. And he's a humble youth, loving youth. And he dedicated himself to his mother. Whenever his mother's birthday come around, he would push out extra effort to give her a gift by working overtime to buy her a nice gift.
This time is so hard. So you just work your hard money and take it and give it to your family member. It's kind of hard, but he was one of that kind of person.
He was a breadwinner for the family because my father, I had a sister by his mother's side living in Portland, and he helped her out also.
He was a good boy because I was thinking that he's one of the best child his mom and dad had. Because of his attitude, I always say he's one of the best. He is the best child.
He was supporting his mother. He have a brother that died. And his sister, he have a sister living in Portland. At that time, she had 4 kids. And him help her out with those kids. Him father have 4 little ones. Usually go primary school, basic school, and him help them out.
When he migrated to the USA, he was the one that helped his mother. So his mother is there, and he was the one that helped his mother so she could come travel back and forth and stuff like that. He was the one, when his dad was here, living in Jamaica before he passed, he was the one that helped his father in financial ways. His brother as well, Trevor. When he was living in the country, he opened this restaurant and bar down at the countryside, so like his family is always thinking about his family, so they're always gonna have something that they could live after, Yeah, so I know that he helped him family for him. I always think about them. Always.
He was bright. He was an intelligent boy. And he was ambitious driven. He was driven. Even when it don't look like it possible, he would tell and say, yes, it can happen. So that was the good thing about him. And I think that was the edge that he had. Some of them were contented that because I'm from here, it will just not happen. And they accepted that. The girls accepted that by the time I reach a certain age, I must become a baby mother. I must have a baby for a boy. And the boy mind me and the baby. The guys accepted that you have to sell a little drugs or fire gun to be able to survive or to get any form of respect from anybody around here. He was very driven. He was very ambitious. He always had some bright business plan. He's always telling you, Auntie Sandy, say, can you look up place this time? He's always telling me about some business plan idea that he have. And they are not way off. They make sense. It's like in doing homework and how you can start and how you can manage it. So he's always having some bright ideas. As I said, he was a brilliant boy growing up. And he was very respectful. He respected all people. He would say hi to everybody.
It's a real struggle because I've been living here all my life and I faced everything. I see my friends die, I see crime, I see a lot in this community.
Granville is still showing a lot of things. Granville is over there. Granville's friend was dying right behind the house, right over there. I think one time Granville like a school and think somebody from upstairs threw something and bust out Granville and threw off a little, like from this height, Granville down there and throw off a chair and think I'm edit bus.
Which is the lower end. So you know, we're separated in classes. You have the upper, middle, and the lower. So we consider here we'll be the lower class, and we're people like without a voice. So we are the one that get rejected. So, in other words, the one I'm trying to say is that the most higher society, governments, I mean, they look down on us. So there's no opportunity here. So when a guy come out and pass a school like that, Granville pass, trust me, it take real brains. I'm telling you. So he's a bright young man.
It's a community that often on the news about gun violence. It's what we call garrison. You know, it's some people describe it as big yard community where many people live there and share the same space. War, quarrel, every day for whatever reason. So it is actually what we call the, in our Jamaican term, ghetto. Like you're not privy to a nice home, you know, you can't go to the supermarket, you have to go to the corner shop to buy a pound or a 2 pound of that. So they're not privy to go to the supermarket with a trolley and pick up their groceries. The ladies having 5, 10 kids, 6 kids, 6 different fathers, everybody using the same space, everybody using the same latrine, the same bathroom to shower. People can't pay electricity, they can't pay water, so they steal all of them things from JPS and Water Commission. That is what we call garrison.
Alright, this right here is one of our water canal. This basically takes some of the water off the main whenever it comes, when we have a rainy season or not. This is basically connection to the main stream that takes the water out. Some persons, as a result of not having adequate disposal option, they will basically throw the garbage also in the body that we have right here looking at. What we do have in Jamaica, the areas are coded. So you have like Kingston 11, Kingston 12, Kingston 13, Kingston 20. So between Kingston 11 and Kingston 13, those are predominantly the garrison area.
Persons might be fighting in the community. He's the person to separate that fight. He's the person to calm it down and to, okay, encourage them not to do it. He's that kind of person. So doing that, he's definitely a role model for other person to follow.
Even though nobody made an argument, even more. If they want an argument, he will be the one to calm them down and if they do to reason with me and show them certain things. They don't encourage to say, yo, if you do that, if you do that, get a work, you know?
Yeah, because, alright, the club that I was telling you about, it was a part of that club. It was a youth club for all the youths in the community, which all of us was in, because he's elder than me. So I was in the club and everything. We go to beach trips, they put on competition. Like other community come together and we play competition for football, we play football, we play netball, we have bun eating, biscuit eating contest. He's just always that type of person to bring, because you know this type of area is a garrison area, it's a war type area, right? It's violence more time. So he's always like the one who like come put on, because these things like when you put on the competition like, it's always trying to bring people together, like communities together. So they come out and they will play football and stuff like that. He's a big baller.
That's what I said. Basically,
work and those things, organize, involve and keep competition and all those things going.
Yeah. But the little kids then, in the community, we start play ball with the box. And you know, and I say, what's the name? You can play a ball, and then the man then play a ball on the field over across the dome.
His father was a caretaker of the community. So he helped him around, and because he has the headpiece. That was a bright little boy, and because he has the headpiece, he would do the bookwork and the.
And he's intelligent, you know, somebody you can have a sense of reasoning with. You know, he understood what you're saying, and you can relate to some stuff that you know. If you talk politics, he can relate. If you talk sports, he can relate. If you talk general knowledge, he can relate. You know, it's somebody that can just have a general conversation with them, whatever topic. You would have some input or some contribution to make.
He's a quiet person, very quiet, and he's hardworking, and he's very manageable. And there are times he will pass, you never pass and you will say morning, you always say good morning.
You would never pass and don't say good morning, good evening, hi, hello, very manageable. Even when he go to foreign and come back and like when he visit, he would go around and greet everybody and any little thing he have him give to them, the old people still playing football, still mix and mingle with the community.
He's loving that at some point I used to describe him as mama's boy. You know, they used to say, you're a real mama boy, man. He look out for the ladies. He would be at my house and come to ask me if I eat already. I said, well, you must ask your you're the guest here. So he was so jovial and he was very kind. He hardly said no. He was very kind, and you don't have to ask him directly. You will be here with him and say, oh, it's a real dirty, man, I can't get to go wash it. And he said, what are you going to do? And he said, shampoo me here. He said, how much for do that? And he said, thanks. And he just offered to him.
Everybody loved him. And everybody speak highly. When I said highly, and if you're a youth from the garrison and you can come out of the garrison and never pick up a gun in your life or never try to do anything bad in your community, and people can speak highly about you after you leave from the community. That is something great. But you're not finding that nowadays. Oh, because you have, alright, why I know it in the community, because you have lots of people that used to live in this community and then they migrated to the US. They would never ever put back their foot in this community because people will call them and say, oh, there are people dying, oh, they're shot firing, but it wasn't like that. If he come back today, he will be right here sitting with me, all of us speaking, everybody, walking around everywhere, greeting and meeting and giving to people. He wasn't like that. I always have to say, big him up, and that he's not like that. I always try to come back and socialize with everybody because he's a great person. I cannot emphasize how much of a good person that he is to this community. I know him all my life, and if I have one bad thing to say about that person, I would be lying and I would be telling a lie on him. And I know that if you ask, if you go from the top of the community to the bottom of the community, you will never get a bad, you'll never hear something bad about that person. Never. And it's not because that I know them and I have been around them. Why I'm saying it is the way how I see him operate in the community.
Most of the time on Sunday we play at the field and he's always active in that role, trust me. You know, he even get all sponsors from other, companies, see the talent in him and they give him, endorsements. Like, and that's all I know, because I don't really play, but I normally sit on the audience and I watch I mean, he play on the field?
Very good footballer. He can play this sports, and you guys can soccer, he can play very well. You know.
He was on a track team, right? Because you have this coach that saying that he's like a valid player because he's spent most of his time on football, I remember that. But he loved football. That's I know for a fact.
I always want to be like Ritchie. Because as I said, he's a very good player. Especially on him left foot, he can play the sport very well.
As I look at you up there, so Chilla would always play with me because he's a good baller, you know, I said that you could play for Jamaica. Yeah man, both foot, him could use both foot, kick ball, never had by him. You could do a foolish, you could quarrel with me because I know I can play but not as good as him.
Then evening time now we start watch a bigger man them play ball, which he was the main star in the community where everybody come out for watch playing football. Yeah, so the other way as my age group look up juvenile like me and get for respect in Granville and love go watch him play football because he's a skillful player.
He was the baller of the community. He played football. Yeah. And he was this type of person that everybody could have looked up to. He didn't give trouble. He wasn't the person to say, yeah man, I know that I'm a troublemaker. No. Because he wasn't that type of person. He's always, even when he's old school, always working. And always, he's just a positive person was a positive person in the community.
Growing up, I Granville, and I go last Chilla, who go to the community, represent the community in football, soccer, game. Also a part of a youth club run by the father.
Best thing I can say about him loving.
Well, growing up, small, well, I knew him as a kind person. He's loving as well, and he's always doing good. So that's what I know him as. Whenever you see him, he's always there encouraging you to do good things, and he's friendly. So
I'm always working, The only never disrespect me no time. They always humble with me, moving gentle, grow up as a very humble youth.
Humble, nice, calm, don't give no trouble.
And I tell us, Chilla is a good youth, behaving youth, manly youth, go to school, try to help the community.
Kind, very kind. At the arts, it's there, he gives it. He was that type of person. He was the type of person who can't say no. He was that type of person. And, you know, you don't look back for anything. You don't look back for anything because he was that independent type of person. So, you know, he was a very kind-hearted person.
So he was like a big brother, or should I say, a strong brother?
Well, he's a skillful man. Him don't mix up in foolishness. Him is just all about him work and him football. That's all. So he's a guy who will always, you will catch you hanging out around him as a bigger man for we, because him don't think negative. It's always the upliftment in him about. You get me? Most likely football, nothing to him like him football. So the first time he went away in America, all I did glad for him because I said, yeah, and next star gone. First trip he make here now, we're going to see him back and bring back some gears for him. Because you know, him was the star they all will look up to.
He's knowledgeable in certain ways, so for him to take a job, it wasn't hard.
Okay.
I understand. And to be honest, I don't ask him too much about his personal life.
Right.
And I can tell you that he's always working. And never yet one day come home and complain about his job.
We were close as cousins, always running jokes, and he's a hard-working person.
And good to the community, God. I'm changing every community right now, the way people love him.
Okay.
Everybody love him more in the community. How much I love him? Love him.
You know, coming from, as they would say, the least of them all in terms of the less fortunate, not having. So he was trying to work as hard as he could, as he can, just to ensure that he could better himself and the family as well.
You know, from teenage coming up, I remember he's always, you know, encouraging me. He's full of encouragement and always saying that, I mean, you know, life itself is not easy. You have to, like, you know, put in that effort and that determination. And with that, you know, understand with that recipe, you get some area of success is concerned. So.
Okay, very good. Council Pritch, real quick.
Honestly, he's a wonderful person, very durable, very nice.
And what is the decision that you have made? Do you wish to testify or do you wish to remain silent?
Wish to remain silent.
Okay. And again, as we discussed previously during the guilt phase of the trial, the decision whether or not to testify or to remain silent is yours and yours alone. No one, including your attorneys, can in any way pressure you, coerce you, threaten you, promise you anything in order to get you to either testify or remain silent. Do you understand that?
Yes.
And has anyone, including your attorneys, pressured you, threatened you, coerced you, or promised you anything upon which you have relied upon in order to get you to make the decision to remain silent?
No.
And do you understand that if anyone had, this would be the moment when you must tell me? Do you understand that?
Yes.
And has anyone, including your attorneys, made you any assurances regarding what the outcome of this phase of the trial will be? And do you understand no one can predict? No one knows. Do you understand that? Yes. Do you have any questions or any concerns that you need to discuss with me now about whether or not you should testify or remain silent? Okay, very good. All right, so then when we bring the jury back in, defense will rest in front of the jury and state who's going to be your first witness.
The state would call Georgette Redley.
Okay. Does anybody need to take a quick break, or okay. Do make a finding that the defendant has knowingly and intelligently and voluntarily waived his right to testify on his own behalf during the penalty phase. All right, let's go ahead and bring in our jury.
All rise, jury entering.
Very good. We're ready to proceed. Give an announcement.
The defense was pressure.
Okay. State, do you have a rebuttal evidence? Okay. Who's going to be your first witness?
Georgette Redley.
Okay.
Stop here first, face the clerk, please sworn.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you about to give in this cause is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Please stand.
Kid, step this way, please. Have a seat right there.
May I proceed?
Good afternoon, Ms. Redley.
Good afternoon.
Can you please state your full name?
Georgette Redley.
And how do you spell your last name?
Redley.
And I sense an accent. Where are you from?
Jamaica.
And how long did you live there?
24 years.
How long have you been here in the States?
I have been here since 2005.
And can I ask what year you were born?
1981.
So you were 3 years older than the defendant in this case. He was
Yes.
born in 1978.
Yes.
Okay. Where did you live in Jamaica?
I lived in St. Andrew, right outside of Kingston.
How far is that from Kingston?
Technically, how Jamaica's map is set up, they sometimes put Kingston and St. Andrew as one parish because it's literally right outside of the other. So some people will say there's 14 parishes in Jamaica, others will say there's 13 because Kingston and St. Andrew is technically in one.
And where did you go to school when you were growing up there?
I went to Holy Child High School.
Holy Child?
Holy Childhood High School.
And is that in Kingston or is that in the town you lived in?
That's in, technically, it is Kingston, but it's in St. Andrew. Like, Maxfield is St. Kingston, but if you look geographically on the map, it is St. Andrew. So like I said, both Kingston and St. Andrew is kind of combined. They're like Kingston and St. Andrew is one.
When was the last time you went back to Jamaica?
In April.
Do you go back yearly?
I try to go back yearly or sometimes twice for the year.
Are you currently working?
I am working with the state attorney's office right now.
Since this case has been going on, were you asked to review particular items with regards to this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Once it was learned that you're from Jamaica?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you asked specifically to review mitigation video in this
Yes,
case?
ma'am.
Okay. Can you tell me, in Jamaica, what was the typical discipline?
As a child?
Yes.
Oh, that was the opposite of America. If parents took school work extremely serious, so school finishes, say, for me, school finished about 2:15, 2:30. I had to be home by 3:30. If I'm not home by 3:30, I would get a whooping. If you get in trouble in Jamaica with your parents, if you disrespect an adult, you get a whooping. As a matter of fact, your neighbor can whoop you, and it's nothing. It's just the way we grew up. We had that tough love where you get whoopings. Whoopings is normal.
And since you've moved here to the state, that's different from the States?
That's different from the States.
Okay. When in Jamaica, do you call soccer football?
Yes, ma'am.
So when people say football, they're not talking about American football with helmets and the pads and the brown, not brown ball?
No.
Okay. Are you familiar with the school KC or Kingston College?
Yes, ma'am.
And you did not go to that high school, is that correct?
No, that's an all-boys school.
Okay. How is it that one is admitted into high school in Jamaica?
So, do you want me to speak about it at that time while we were growing up, his age group, my age group? Because it has changed a bit now. Okay.
Your age group.
So, to get to high school at that time, there was an exam so there is a school, your preschool before high school would be primary, prep school, or all-age school. So in order to transition from one of those schools to the high school, you had to take an exam called Common Entrance Exam.
Common Entrance?
Common Entrance, yes.
Is that also titled CXC?
No, CXC is different. I can tell you about that.
Let's talk about just high school, how you get into high school.
So for Common Entrance, you have to take that exam. Initially, before you take the exam, you select 3 schools that you'd want to potentially attend. Based on your grades, after that exam, you're awarded to go to whichever high school they place you in. Most times, if your grades are good, you get to go to a school that you selected. Like for me, my first choice was Holy Childhood. I got to go to Holy Childhood.
Is that a prestigious school in your area?
Yes.
Is Kingston College, KC, a prestigious school in the area?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you describe that school? What is it known for, its background, and the kind of grades you need to be able to get in it?
So you need to get high 90s to go to KC, probably 80s, 90s to go to KC. KC is one of the best boys' high school in Jamaica. It is actually in Kingston, Kingston St. Andrew. KC is known, if you even look at this year, they have something called high school athletic competition. It's called Champs in Jamaica, where all the boys' schools in Jamaica compete. Then you have a section where all the girls' school compete in Champs in different athletic things. You know, if anybody knows Jamaica, you know Jamaica is known for athletics because of Usain Bolt. But with this school, it is one of the top schools. I'm not sure, that they won Champs this year.
Overall, go ahead.
I think they won Champs this year, but they normally win Champs a lot because they are known for one of the best schools, the best boys' schools in Jamaica.
Can you get into KC just because you play sports well, but you don't score well on this entrance?
Not at that point, no.
So in the video, when people are commenting that Granville Ritchie is a smart individual, that's consistent with him getting into KC.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I also asked you on direct about CXC and a certificate that can be required and also specific academic areas in order to get certain jobs in Jamaica. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain what that correlates to in the States?
So CXC correlates to a GED and a high school diploma. So what happens with the certificate part of it is that when you graduate from a high school, you are awarded your diploma, which is your certificate. CXC, now you can finish school without getting that certificate or just get a certificate of attendance instead of a diploma. But for CXC, once you get to fifth form, which is 11th grade in high school, you take this thing called CXC, which is your subjects that you would have to take. So for me, I took 7 subjects. So you get to take these subjects. Upon passing these subjects, you're awarded this new certificate for your CXC, which is what you present. You're applying for a job. Oh, I have this subject. This is my qualifications. So in order for you to get jobs, a lot of jobs in Jamaica ask you, what is your CXC? Let me see your CXC certificate. And you have to present that CXC certificate with your high school, with your qualifications in order to get this job.
What specifically, and let me go back for a minute, what specifically are you doing, or why are you doing an internship with the State Attorney's Office?
I am currently doing my master's in legal studies with a certification in paralegal, and I finished in December, so I wanted to do my internship at the State Attorney's Office so I can get credit for it and get the experience.
Okay. So if someone fails 9th and 10th grade at KC, you only get a certificate if you do the 11th grade and you...
Overall, go ahead.
You only get the certificate in the 11th grade, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if somebody doesn't get the certificate, how might else they be able to get a job that requires this CXC certification, and if they don't have the certification in these 5 classes required?
So if you don't get to fifth form, 11th grade, and do that, there are other, just like in America, you have other continuation classes that you can go to get your GED. There are other schools that you can go back to go back and sit these 60 subjects to get that certificate.
Okay. If you don't do that, is it possible your family status could assist you in getting a job?
Definitely.
Okay. Did you watch the entirety of the mitigation video?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you hear people talking about him and his family giving things to the community?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, people discussed in this video about the garrison. What is the garrison considered, or what is that equivalent to here in the States?
The garrison is like the ghetto area. So it's where poor people live in the garrison. I think the garrison came up with, like, one of the DJs used it in a song first, that he's from the garrison. So the garrison is like a ghetto area where poorer people, where a lot of poverty is.
Is the area that was shown on the video in the Kingston area, is that a poor area in Jamaica?
It is a poor area in Jamaica.
And are there certain people in this poor areas that are considered the leaders of this area?
Yes, ma'am.
What are these leaders called?
Don.
Don, that's...
The Don, they'll refer to them as baller. He is... They have a lot of slangs. Jamaica have a lot of slangs for people that's high in power, like people that they respect, give that certain level of respect to in these areas.
If a father is a Don, does it carry down to his lineage or his oldest son?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you also, there were some articles or in the mitigation video with regards to the defendant's father being shot and killed in 2018. Did you review other articles that were not just in this video?
Yes, ma'am.
And those other articles was the defendant's father titled as the leader that was shot and killed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So can you explain how these community leaders live and how they are viewed in the garrison?
Okay. So these community leaders, I don't know if it's okay for me to say something about the video to respond to this.
If that assists you in explaining.
Yes. Okay, so in the video, the first person that was interviewed said she met his father through politics.
Is that Miss Arlene Richards?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So instantly when I heard that, you live in the garrison.
Speculation.
Overrule, go ahead.
You live in the garrison. You are able to be giving back to the community. What happens with these leaders in the community? Politicians in Jamaica team up with them because they want the vote from the community. So what the politicians do is give them money to support the community. So they have extra money for themselves. They use the extra money to give back to the community so that the community will say, okay, yeah, this person is awesome. This person is good. They'll get that level of respect. Because if you notice in the video, all they spoke about is, we respect him. He's always doing that. I respect him. I would never disrespect him. He never does that to me. He'll give me that, whatever. He's a baller. And even there's one person in the video that said, he's a baller, everybody respect him. So when she said that, another person was interviewed, and then right back, she went back and she said, clarified herself to not make it look like a baller in the sense that I'm the Don. Oh, he's a baller in the sense that he played football. Okay. So with that, football is a big thing in Jamaica, in these areas. If you are famous for playing football, you are known.
Did you know Granville Ritchie as a football player or soccer player?
No, ma'am.
So the politicians, the actual people that are the politicians,
yes,
they don't live in the garrison, do
no,
they?
ma'am.
So they give money to these community leaders to then hand out to the community to get votes?
Yes, ma'am.
When you return to visit your home, do you go back to your community?
Nope.
Why is that?
I moved there from 2005. Now, it's bad. So I don't go home. I stay on the North Coast when I go home.
So back when you lived there, when you were growing up, was it as bad as it is now?
Nope.
How did you get to and from school when you were in high school?
So in the mornings, most mornings, my mom's friend worked in Trenchtown. He was a police officer in Trenchtown, so he would take me to Half a Tree. Then I'll walk to school. In the evening.
You walked to school by yourself?
Yes.
Okay. And so that was safe to do back then?
Yes.
When you were in high school?
Yes. Okay. And when I'm coming home, I take the bus.
Did you live there when you were still, and would you take the bus by yourself?
Yes.
Did you work there after school?
I did.
Were you fully employed when
yes.
you lived there?
Yes,
what types of things did you do?
I worked in advertising. So I worked with one of the biggest advertising companies in Jamaica. And because of that, I had a lot of opportunities to do a lot of PR work because we had big companies that did promotions for parties and stuff like that. And I would attend these events because I'm working in advertising. I got the luxury of doing a lot of things. Even in the Garrison area, we shot a Red Stripe, Red Label wine commercial, and it was safe for me to be in the community all night while the shoot was being done.
Okay. It's not like that now, is that fair to say?
No, it's not.
You heard on the mitigation video that when he would return from the States, he would be able to walk around just fine, and nobody would bother him, and he would be able to give out things to the community. Is that consistent, again, with his family having this privilege of being part of the community leaders?
Definitely.
The community leaders, are they protected within the garrison?
Within the garrison, they are very protected and respected.
Are they not protected outside of the garrison?
They are not protected outside because you got to understand, this is the garrison. Say this is Maxfield, then Rome is over there. They are at war with Rome. So outside of the garrison, if you don't have your bodyguards and everybody else, you are not protected. Inside, you can walk free. You're good.
Was it in Rome where the defendant's father was shot and killed?
Yes.
And that was in 2018, though, correct?
Yes.
Judge, may I have a moment?
Yes.
In the mitigation video, there was one room shown in the defendant's home and some outside portions. What was known about the community leader's home within the garrison? If you were the community leader, was your home the worst off or was your home the most well off?
If you're the community leader, you're going to have one of the best homes in the garrison. So in the video, when I watched it, they only showed one room of his dad, but they showed the outside of everybody's house. Also in the video, there is a gully. We call it a gully, like a, I don't know what to call it here, like a dump area. I don't think it's a dump area, but it's like a bridge where you see the running water right there. And if you look to the side of that, you see homes in the garrison that had AC units right there. So there is still homes in the garrison that still had stuff. And if you were the leader, it's either one, you don't live in that community, or if you do live in that community, you live in a better house in that community.
And I just want to ask, when you lived there growing up, compared to how it is now, the violence, is the violence less or more now?
It's way more now.
No further questions, Judge.
Okay, cross-examination.
Ms. Redley, you do not have any personal knowledge of the defendant's educational experience, correct?
Only what I read and saw on the video.
You've read, for instance, Dr. Eisenstein's report?
Yes.
Okay. You know that he, based on that report, that he failed miserably in high school, correct?
Based on that report.
Now, you did not test, you don't have any psychological or psychiatric qualifications, correct?
No.
And you have not had any contact with the defendant, correct?
No.
You did not test his IQ score, have you?
No.
Okay. And you do not have any personal knowledge of the defendant's living conditions when he was living in Jamaica, correct?
No.
Okay. You don't have any personal knowledge of his upbringing, correct?
No.
You don't have any idea whether he was abused or not, correct? Other than maybe what you've read in Dr. Eisenstein's report or another report, correct? You don't have any personal knowledge.
Personal knowledge, no.
Okay. And you've already indicated you're working for the state attorney's office, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, are you aware of any criminal statistics, crime rate statistics regarding Jamaica, say from when you were growing up in Jamaica to the present time?
I'm glad you asked. Yes. Yesterday, I purposely got that information. My brother is a police officer in Jamaica. So when I read it and I had the questions, I started asking about these areas. I started asking about the violence in this area. When I was there, I knew what was going on based on the fact that I went to Holy Child High School. Holy Child is literally 10 minutes from Maxfield. So if there was violence going on, it would affect me going to school.
Let me make sure you have personal knowledge of criminal statistics, correct?
Yes.
Okay, now, would it surprise you that you were there in 2002, correct?
Yes.
Would it surprise you that in central Kingston in 2002 there were 82 murders?
No, that wouldn't surprise me.
Okay, and would it surprise you, we're talking about 2002, would it surprise you that in East Kingston there were 62 murders?
When?
In 2002. I'm referring back to 2002.
Let me ask you a question. No, it wouldn't surprise me, but are those statistics real? Because oftentimes there's a lot of information about crimes and stuff that's happening in Jamaica that is not true.
Do you have statistics to show me that contradicts what
I
I'm
didn't know I
reading to
needed to bring it because I would have brought it.
Okay. Would it surprise you that in 2002, in West Kingston, there were 66 murders?
Let me ask you, where exactly is West Kingston? Let's answer that.
I'll be happy to show you if you would like
Please.
to refer to it as crime statistics in 2002.
I'd ask if he lists the site. Give us the site that he's looking at.
What is the source?
So this only says Kingston Central. Where is Kingston Central? Where is Kingston? Where is St. Andrew Central? Where is this report talking about specifically? Where?
Well, Kingston is broken down into sections, correct?
Yes.
There's the central Kingston, there, correct?
Yes, but where? What communities is comprised of these areas?
I understand. I don't have every street to show you.
I got something else.
Would it surprise the statistics that I'm reading to you? Would it surprise you?
So on this thing, it says that he lived in Maxfield in Kingston. Statistically, Maxfield is in St. Andrew. So that's why I'm asking you that question. So if you can give me that answer, then I can answer you better.
Other than what your brother may have told you, you don't have any.
I was living there in 2002. I could walk around freely. I was going to parties. I was going to events. I had no problems walking in Kingston in 2002.
But please answer my question. You do not have any crime rate statistics?
Now,
correct?
no.
Okay. Now, when you saw the video, and there's reference to politics or community leader, and there maybe have been reference to Trevor, you would agree with me that reference is to the defendant's father, not the defendant.
No, I don't agree with you because they said when he was there, he was still giving them things. He was still doing all of that. So in order for him to get that, when you dropped out of school at 10th grade, where are you getting that income to be doing that?
You're suggesting that if he was working and giving some things to his family or friends, that makes him some kind of a Don or community leader?
No, I'm not assuming that. I'm telling you that his father was a community leader. Based on the record, he dropped out of school in 10th grade. Where was he working to be getting that money to be able to buy things to give to that community? That's all I'm asking. Because you have to have had a job. You have to have something to be able to give him that.
Correct?
There is nothing on the record. Show me where he was working. Show me this.
Okay, everyone, one at a time. What's your next question?
My next question is, any reference to a Trevor being in the video or being violent or abusive, that Trevor is referring to the defendant's father, correct?
They were also speaking about him how he used to give things to the community, how he would
You're not
share.
answering my question, ma'am.
But they made reference to both of it.
Okay, listen, and so, anyway, go ahead and repeat your question, and so just listen carefully and then answer the question.
Any reference to a Trevor being, or anyone being in that video, being violent and abusive is referring to the defendant's father, not the defendant.
Violent and abusive, yes, to his father.
Thank you.
Okay, redirect? Redirect? Okay, may this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. You're free to go. Counsel, real quick.